Hello everyone, Saf Tech Reviews here, back with another video reviewing the new Nintendo Switch OLED. I will unbox the unit here and then I will compare it to the older Nintendo Switch version 2 model. So you can see here the box is much more compact on the new Nintendo Switch OLED. You're getting everything in this tiny box that pretty much came in the previous console, which is the dock, the grip, the console itself, and the Joy-Cons along with the straps. So without further ado, I will unbox this here. So let me open it from here. And you can see we have the Joy-Cons in the box and the actual console. The Joy-Cons should be the same as the ones that came in the previous gen. The only difference is that they come in this color white. So it is a more clean look or color when it comes to this Switch. Very clean looking. And then we have the console itself right here. Which, as you can see, has a very different back than the previous one. And I'll set that aside for now. So let me just set all of this aside here. And this is the dock that comes with the new Switch OLED. The dock has quite a few differences from the previous one. It is much nicer in my opinion. The older dock used to just be a plain gray color all around. This one has a matte white finish. It is actually glossy black on the inside. It's much more organized in here, the way the cable is routed, and inside you have all your connections here for AC, HDMI, and LAN. I really like what they did here with this new dock. It does look way nicer. The old one did look a little kind of cheaper, more flimsy sort of thing. The bottom here is a rubberized finish, really nice overall. Really nice work they did here on the dock. Otherwise, what else we get in the box is the HDMI cable here. It's just a standard HDMI cable. You get the charging AC adapter, and then over here you have the grip. And this again is just more or less like the previous one. Not much of a difference here when it comes to that. Put that back in here. And finally, last but not least, in this box we get the actual Joy-Con straps, which should be here somewhere. Oh, there they are. So these ones, these attach to the top of the joysticks and give you like two buttons where you can click on them. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that comes in this box. I will set this aside and take a look more at the Switch itself. So right off the bat, the Switch itself, as you can see here, has a much sleeker look to it. And I will actually compare it to this previous one with the Joy-Cons removed. Since it helps see those differences better. So the older Switch, as you can see, has this very thick bezel. The screen itself looks kind of grayish when it's off. It's much easier to see those bezels. The screen here, when it's off, is much darker in color. The bezels are extremely sleek, as you can see. It looks great. You don't have these cutouts here that we had on the older ones. The older one, the speaker output came from here. Here it's actually coming from under the screen. It's out of the way of the bezel. In the older one, it's in the way of the bezel, and you have that IR sensor here also. We don't have that on the newer one, which makes it look much cleaner as a console. Let's look at the backs of both of these units, and again, you will see a lot of difference here in design language. On the previous one, you had all the information here, bigger Switch logo. Again, this one is a much cleaner, much smaller logo here on the back. and it's just a much cleaner look. This kickstand here is very sturdy and it is adjustable. I really like that. And on the previous one, it just had that infamous single kickstand, which is kind of hard to pull out, but it just had this little flimsy kickstand which kind of falls off if you push it too much, and then you have to push it back in. So this is a huge improvement. It's much better when you actually put the console down. So that's a very nice improvement there. Let me actually compare the weights of both of these. So I will start off by weighing the previous model over here. And the previous model is weighing in at 314 grams without the Joy-Cons. And the newer one here is weighing at 322, so it is slightly heavier, not by much. And if I weigh both Joy-Cons, I think they're the same, but I'm just gonna do it for fun. So the new ones are weighing at 99 grams, and the older Joy-Cons are 99 grams. So, well, yeah, more or less. So the Joy-Cons are the same. That's what I thought too. That's like a 1 gram discrepancy. So yeah, let's take a look more at actually the feel of both. So when you put the Joy-Cons in the previous model one, they slide in easily and all. It kind of wobbles a little back and forth here on both sides. It's not as like there's a little play basically in each Joy-Con. That's something that really bothered me about the first one, but you kind of get used to it. I heard that that's improved on the new one, and I really want to actually test this out here. So let me pop those in. So it seems to be a much snugger fit. It's kind of hard to pull in on this one. But yeah, this seems to be much snugger. It was even hard to actually push it in, as you can see. And it is a much, yeah, there's almost no play at all in this one, which, yeah, they definitely did improve the fitment a lot on the Switch OLED. I can definitely vouch for that. It is definitely way more improved on this one. They are sitting in very nicely. When you hold it, it does feel much sturdier. This console is a bit heavier, but it does feel more balanced to me, probably because it's slightly wider than the old one. I'm gonna set this console up and download Asphalt here on it so we can do a quick comparison between both. So I will be right back. So we're back here, just downloading a few games on this console and that one, and yeah, we have Asphalt on both of them. It's still downloading here, has a bit to go, but while it downloads, I want to talk about the differences in screen. So I will set the auto brightness off on both, and both to maximum brightness here, as you can see. As you can see, the max brightness on both is very different. The new one seems to be much brighter, much more vivid. The colors look amazing in real life on this one. Another thing I also know about this new OLED model is the speakers sound better, and they have a much more fuller sound. But another thing I want to point out is if you game on both of these on max brightness, the OLED outperforms the old one by an entire hour. Even though they have the same battery, it seems that on the newer model, it is much more optimal. Alright everyone, so I'm back here. I set both up on the same game and just gave this a start pretty much. So yeah, we can see here the colors are much more vivid. Again, they're both on max brightness. The whites look really white here. The screen looks very dim compared to this new Switch OLED screen. It's a much nicer viewing experience. It feels like the text looks bigger to me, down here it looks slightly bigger, much more crisp, much more sharper. The colors are much more deep, much more detailed. So let me just try to start both of these. All right, everyone, so I'm back here. I did notice that Asphalt 9 on the previous Switch was on the internal was on the SD card, not on the internal memory. So I moved it to the internal memory, just like it is on the OLED. As you can see, the OLED Switch has more space. It comes with 64 compared to the previous gen, which came with less space. I believe it came with 32, if I remember correctly. Let's compare the performance now between both of them. So, without further ado, I will launch both games at the same time. And yeah, now we will see if there's an actual difference in load times between both of them. They're both on the internal storage. So yeah, we can see it is still seems to be loading slightly faster on the OLED model. And we will jump into a quick game here to test that further and see if that theory still holds true or not. So it did load faster on the new OLED model, and the previous one is still loading the game. So we will wait for it to complete here. Okay, so it just finished, so I will hit play on both. And let's start the game here. And 3, 2, 1, and go. So I will do the same here. So at the same time. There we go. So that's as close as I'm gonna get, starting them both at the same time. And let's see if the loading is the same or if the OLED will outperform it again in terms of loading time. So, okay, it seems to be more or less the same or similar now between both of them. So the issue of the SD card affecting the loading time was definitely partially the reason why this was happening. However, it still did slightly load faster on the newer one when starting the game from scratch. But yeah, they are more or less very similar when it comes to load time. There could have been some performance improvements or enhancements on that between both of them in terms of storage capability. So let me quit the race at the same time here and see if there's any difference there. Yeah, it seems to be more or less the same. I'm just going to do another test here for good measure. So one more time. And yeah, the performance seems to be more or less identical between both of these when it comes to load times and graphics. So they're both running very smoothly here, as you can see. And the colors on the OLED do look much nicer, much more vivid. The screen is much brighter. It does look a lot better than what we're getting on the older model here. So yeah, great test to compare both of these side by side. This was an interesting comparison to have between both of them. They're both great consoles in their own right. There are some great improvements done to the newer one. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I would be happy to share more reviews and more comparisons in the future. Thank you, and goodbye.